Yeah, and it's just one of these deals like we were talking about. I wasn't I thought he was going to be okay, but he wasn't. I had a horse tied up in a spot where worst case scenario happened, and it
Stuff
did.
Could have gone wrong.
Yep, and it went wrong. So
I think that's a good point. You got to look at situations with horses as worst case scenario. If this goes south, what's the worst that could happen? And plan for that. If it doesn't, count it as a blessing.
Yep, you had a good day.
But if it's going to go that way, they're a fight or flight animal. And if they're coming to fight you, run like hell.
Yep.
If they're trying to flight, if they're trying to run away, you got to make sure they're not in a position or a place where they could get in a bind like that. Okay, you want to get rolling? Welcome to another episode of The Scoop. We weren't here last week. We apologize. We kind of had a lot of crap going on.
Holidays.
Getting back from the holidays.
Getting back from the holidays.
Halloween was rough on us. We didn't have a show last week. No, we were out of town. Bryce was. Were you here last week?
He's moving.
Yeah, you were in the middle of moving. We planned a trip to Arizona. Me and Joel went to Arizona. We were just busy. So sorry we didn't have one last week. We'll make up for it. As always, remember we use hashtag BioMane Live Show in the comments. Leave your comments using that hashtag BioMane Live Show for giveaways throughout the show. We give away pretty much everything in the product lineup off the website, biomane.com. I'm one of your co-hosts, Cole Clement, here with Lad Hal. What's today's show?
Well, the scoop, that's why we're calling the scoop, because it's a scoop of everything. There's so many different disciplines, and I mean, where to even start today? We're going to bounce back and forth, so it's a scoop here and a scoop there. That's why we're going to try to get caught back up on scooping.
That's kind of the point of the show, is to not be totally specific to one discipline or one product, but we want the show to be kind of an overlook of the equine industry as a whole. We've got some really cool guests lined up for our upcoming shows, talking about equine insurance, talking about the feed aspect of it, bringing in some hay brokers, talking about what hay's been like, what hay's going to be like. Got some really seasoned and expert farriers lined up, talk about shoeing horses, what it's like in that aspect of the industry, and not only shoeing certain, a specific horse, but shoeing across a wide variety of disciplines. Also, we're going to be talking about some of the incentive programs, hopefully in the roping industry, the reining world, cow horse cutters. So that's kind of the point of the show, is to bring an overall look and insights to specifics of the industry. But today's show, Bryce, what do we have in store today? We can't forget Bryce in the back.
Can't do any of this without
Hey
Bryce.
Guys,
Can't do any
We're
of this.
going to talk a little bit about horse fail stuff, what you should do if, maybe your horse is acting up a certain way, just the proper things to do, or experiences you guys have had.
What are you laughing
past.
about?
Sometimes
The
horses.
do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
We've learned the hard way on a lot of it.
Yep.
We got to watch some videos.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I have a technical difficulty, but
All right.
try
Well,
to
if we get it lined out, we'll watch some
Yep.
fail videos and
Disciplining horses. Sure, we're going to get some feedback on that one.
give our insight. Hey, I'll pull it up when we get to that, but Clinton Anderson posted a video of that yesterday about disciplining horses.
Mm-hmm.
We'll watch that.
Was it pretty PC for Clinton after what he's been?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's age appropriate for all viewers. Clinton gets a little graphic. I like listening to him, like he's real.
Yeah.
No BS.
Mm-mm.
But he's got no filter.
I'm sure he's even toning it down a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure. Anyways, I really enjoy his stuff that I've watched and listened to.
Yep.
Again, remember, We want to hear your comments. We read the comments. We'll do a Q&A possibly at the end. Leave your reviews too.
Good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. You're not going to hurt our feelings. Like if it's bad, we'll learn from it. If we don't agree with you, then we just don't agree with you. We don't care if you don't like us. Chances are we don't like you either.
Yeah, squeaky wheel gets the grease. If not, we'll
makes the world go round. We don't have to like each other.
Yeah, we will take that wheel off. We'll put another one on.
Oh, I'm gonna look through our. What did you do last week?
We had Jace.
The week before we did Jace.
Joel.
That's right.
Yep.
And then Joel, and then Jace.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys say you went to Arizona?
Yeah, went to Arizona. So Joel and I went to Arizona. Oh, that was a trip. We left. So we had it lined up to show some horses down there. We stayed at a good friend's place there in kind of by Aguila. It's the Four Paw area. Stayed at Jake Rodriguez's, Jake and Bailey's place. Had it lined up to show a horse that Friday morning. So we left. We pulled out of my house, I think, at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Got down there about 5:30. Got horses out, watered, cleaned up. Showed a breakaway horse. Went really good. The girl rode really, really well. Roped really good. It was a good fit. We're actually getting the horse vetted tomorrow. If she vets good, I bet she'll buy her. And then that afternoon, we showed some more horses, roped on some colts, went to a little 11 slide. Quinn and Caleb were down there. We met them at that slide and roped at that. And then Saturday morning, I went to Rancho Rio and spent the day at a truck roping there. And Joel went with Jake to, I think it was Simpson's Arena. There's a 13 slide. They roped all day. Well, they roped in the morning over there. Then went back to Jake's and practiced and ran some steers. I think Quinn went over there and they hung out and roped. And then that truck roping got over about 9 o'clock at night and we drove home.
Shout out to Little Warner for winning the truck.
Yeah, Jason Warner's boy.
Is it Jarrett?
I want to say it was Jaden.
Jaden? Yeah, I can't remember which one it was.
I think Jaden Warner is who won the truck. He placed, I think, twice in the top 10. That was a good truck roping as far as setup and how they did points. That's why I went, because most truck opens they've got first through 50 get points and
I've been to some cluster truck opens
and it paid good. Like the first place team, I have to look at the payout, but they won a few grand a man.
In the average they did.
Yeah, in the average they won a few grand a man, and like I won.
Wow.
Me and my guy, we were clean on 3 and a little bit long, but we came back 35th call, ended up winning 13th and split 1,600 still for 13th awesome. Call. And your fees were $600. It was pick one, draw one for 200. And enter 3 times. You're in 600 deep, which 600 is not saying that's not a lot of money, but for a chance to win a truck.
Yeah, that's.
And they had a 13-second cutoff in the first arena, which sped things up a lot in the second arena. So it was a 10.5. I think they handicapped it. Mm-hmm. Capped it at a straight 6. No 3s could rope in it, which not knocking on any 3s, but if you're, say...
You get a 5 and you get a 3.
Yeah, say hard. You're a 4 or even a 5 and you draw a 3. Again, not knocking the 3s, but you want to maximize your number. So I thought that was that was appealing for me. And then, what else? Oh, placings is a high point truck. So there's points awarded first through 15th, and the average was all. Mm-hmm. I thought that was great. Instead of doing 20, 30 places, do points. I thought top 15 was great because you go into it knowing if you win 2 holes, especially in the top 10, you're more than likely winning the truck. And that's what Jaden did. I think he won. I forget. I'd have to look. But
it's awesome.
Rope good. He has a cool little black horse.
Not the first truck he's probably going to win.
No. Those truck ropers, it's always a high school kid that wins it.
Yep.
Luckily, he's from Idaho, so I think he's 15. So
he can drive it.
He can drive it now. If you're from Utah, you don't get to drive it for a year. Like Ram Hughes has won like 4 or 5 trucks. Couldn't drive any of them for a while. Anyways, so that's what we did. It was a good roping. Rancho Rio, if you're a team roper and you haven't been to Wickenburg for one, go. It's unreal. And Rancho Rio is just the setups. It's a cool setup.
Yep.
It's sharp. Yost has done a really good job there.
You'll either win a lot of money or spend a lot.
Yeah, no kidding. There's so many ways to win money, though. Like, there's so many places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Title fights.
title fights in February are a good one to go to. We're going to that, too. If we don't go down there sooner. It's hard not to go down there as a roper.
Macy Sack on Facebook, she asked if you have any tips. Let's see. Any tips for going to your first clinic?
First clinic, like going a training clinic?
Yes.
We're going to assume that it's like a training clinic. Going to some type of, regardless of the discipline. Things to do. I would, if your horse is due to be shoed, get him shoed prior to the clinic. Reason being, if they use your horse as an example, if you're using your horse specifically, and it might be a clinic that you're not even taking a horse to, but I'm going to assume you're taking your horse to this clinic. I would make sure he's got a fresh set of shoes on him within a few weeks. You know, if he's 2-3 weeks old since being shoed, I'd say he's fine. But have a fresh set on him, clean him up, have him look good. Be the person there that looks like they take care of their horse. I think there's a little silent respect that comes from that. And not knowing what Jace is calling me right now. Not knowing what the specific clinic is. Make sure your horse is good to be around. If he's not good to be around, if he's a dink around other horses, around other people, know that going into it and don't put that horse in a situation to fail. Or to get someone or some other horse hurt. But go in there with an open mind.
Dang it. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, open mind.
Yep.
Go in there asking questions. I feel like the biggest thing at those is you're paying, if you're paying for the clinic, you're paying to get knowledge. You should ask as many questions as you possibly can. I heard a thing the other day that said, when you ask a question, you're a fool for a minute. If you don't ask the question, you're a fool forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think that goes a long ways.
Nice philosophy.
What are your thoughts?
I was going to say open mind. I've been to a few of them. I see some really close friends put them on while I help them, and it's funny because afterwards they'd go to lunch and they'd talk about like some of the different students, and some of the ones that stick out are the ones who are asking questions, want to get better, but there's a fine line on asking too many questions.
Yeah.
But like you said, on the open mind, don't say, well, this person does this and that. Well, go to that clinic then.
Yeah.
You don't want to stay under the radar, but you want to have an open mind and just be a sponge, take everything in you can, and yeah.
Yeah. Nothing's more frustrating than when you are giving somebody advice and they say, well, so-and-so does it this way. Yep. Cool. What are you doing here? Go to his place. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, be open-minded, ask a ton of questions. And again, like, if you come across as annoying from all the questions you're asking, I wouldn't care. You're paying to be there. You're paying to get knowledge. But again, you're paying that person for the knowledge, their knowledge given to you. Don't go in there as a know-it-all. If he gives you advice and it's something you already know, take it to heart. And I wouldn't, you know what I mean?
And if the
people that, oh yeah, I already do that. Oh, cool. And what are you paying to be here for? And
if and this needs to be said, but parents can be more liability damage than they'll come down. Well, my kid won this and this and this to the.
Just go in there.
If it's a rope deal, hopefully, I mean, if the parents are open with the horse, that's great, but don't come down and bug the clinician.
Yeah.
Just stay up in the stands.
You're there to learn.
Yeah, you're there to learn.
Hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, I think that answered it well. What about if you have a lazy horse?
Ooh, there's a lot of value in a lazy horse versus having a runoff too.
Yeah.
But
wake him up when he needs to be woken up.
If you feel like he's lazy, I guess there's different aspects of having a lazy horse. Like not knowing anything about the horse, things I would ask is he old? Is he sore? Does he not feel good? If he's none of the above, like if he should be an athlete and he should be not lazy, like he doesn't have age or soreness or anything going against him, there's things you can change in your feed program. Maybe feed him a little higher protein, a little higher starched type grain, like a high performance type grain, kind of perk him up. That's a double-edged sword. You might get too much to where, you get him too wired and he's not fun to be around. Get him off that feed. But I'll be honest. I mean, depending on the caliber of horse you're wanting, like we do rope stuff. We ride rope horses. I don't mind a lazy horse. If it's a lazy horse that has the run, that's great. Why? Because he's easy to be around. You don't feel like you're ever going to be in a bind. Not trying to hurt you. But on the other side, I do like one to have a little bit of fire. So if you got one that's lazy, I would say utilize that to your advantage. But if it's one that is lazy and you need him to be in a speed event or you need him to be an athlete, some horses are just that way. You might need to look at swapping them out for something else.
Yeah, some people might different definitions of lazy too. I've noticed that older riders possibly hey, this horse is kind of lazy, and they'll kiss at him. They're not getting after him because they're scared if they kick him and get after him, the horse might do something that they've gotten away with before.
Yeah.
I don't mind a lazy horse either.
Me neither. Well,
I'd rather have a lazier one than one that I've got to freaking be pulling back the whole time.
Yeah, or something that's just after a run. Well, again, we're relating it to roping. After a run, they're prancing to the bottom, prancing up the arena, prancing into the crowd, just always wiry. I want nothing to do with those.
Yeah.
Well, like Shiner, the horse, if you follow any of us on our sale horses, like Shiner is an athlete, but he's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When he's not in a run, he's lazy. And that's the ideal horse, I think.
Yeah, we don't ride jousters. We don't need something prancing around everywhere.
No. They're easy to ride. They're easy to sell if you ever need to sell them because they fit so many people. Anyways. So if they're lazy, make sure they're feeling good for one. And two, there's some feeds, higher performance feeds that you can give them to kind of juice them up, I guess.
Yep.
Giveaway time.
I didn't think we're still doing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to do a giveaway. If you hear the air horn, watch for lad's reaction.
Bryce kind of so I was like, oh, why is he putting the camera towards me?
Okay, you ready? Let's pick who it is first.
Let's do Amanda Gonzalez.
Amanda Gonzalez. That was a good accent. Maybe Amanda didn't think it was very good. What are we? I can't even see.
I can't see it either.
That is a
30-day supply. 30-day supply of BioMane. Amanda, leave your... not in the comments. Don't leave it in the comments. Message us directly your shipping address. We'll get it sent to you. The 30-day supply will come with a scoop. It'll feed one horse for 30 days. If you're already using the product, great. If you're not, if this is your first experience with BioMane, stay in touch with us. We want to know how that horse does in 30 days. Jump on to our Instagram and Facebook, see what other people have seen over the course of 30 days, and we're excited to get that in your hands.
While we're on the topic of our 30-day supply, we had someone just ask, Taylor Robson. She said, just curious on the BioMane products. I'm on the edge of purchasing the pellets. Everyone has their own opinions. What makes your product work, and what makes it better than others?
Sell it, Cole.
Sell it. Ours specifically is formulated for manes and tails. There's added benefits. You'll get a slick coat, a healthier coat. Their feet are going to do well on it. But what sets ours apart from others, I'm going to tread lightly just because I think it's not good to make someone else's look bad in order to make yours look good, which
we're not Verizon and AT&T over here.
Which some of our competition does. Like their selling points are, we've got more of this in it than BioMane does, and see better results than BioMane. That's fine. If that's how you want to advertise, great. Our results speak for themselves. What I think sets us apart as a feed and as a company is we're very good at producing a high-quality feed. We're very good at our customer service. We're very good at staying in touch with you and incorporating you into the product and the feel of the company. But what I love about our product as opposed to others is the simplicity of it. It's a scoop a day. It can be added with any other feeds. And it works. It really does. We get people, you'll see on the website, there's horses that we've got 30 days on it that have amazing growth. I've got some at the house that in 30 days have exploded with mane and tail in 30 days. And there's some that take a little more than 30 days. So my recommendation, and hopefully it doesn't sound like an upsell, but if you're really wanting to see significant results in a horse, I would suggest getting our 90-day supply. Our 30-day supply really is kind of an intro pack. It's get it in your hands, feed it to the horse over the course of a month, make sure that horse is going to do well on it, takes to it. There's some horses that are picky eaters that don't go right to it. That's the point of the 30-day supply. Get it in front of them, get it in their system. But if you're really adamant about seeing a change in your horse, I would suggest our 90-day supply. And pack that with also our grooming brush and look at a tail bag for sure. Keep that tail protected, and then look at our grooming line. If you're feeding the product and seeing hair growth and seeing the results you want, you've got to protect those, and you've got to make the longevity of that hair greater. And by doing that, I guess I should say it's easier to do that using our grooming line products as well. So hopefully that answers that question.
If she's on the edge, look at all the before and after. Was it the glow ups that we call them?
Yeah.
After the before and after pictures that all the customers post, it's pretty cool to see what they can do in 30 days, and especially the 90s.
Yeah.
They don't even look like the same horse sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And this is a great time to be feeding it going into spring.
Mm-hmm.
Horses like ours, granted, not everybody lives in a climate, excuse me, like ours, but ours are starting to shed off.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time we brush them to ride them, our wash rack is full of hair. They're already starting to shine off. It's not necessarily because it's getting warmer, but the daylight's changing. So this is a great time if you're not feeding it and you were thinking of starting it. Right now is a great time because that new growth is going to start coming in. Their coats are going to be shedding off and looking slick, shined up. And it's a great time of year to start if you haven't started already.
Perfect. I think that answered it well. Let's get into some of the, I guess we can jump into the horse fail type stuff now. What are some of the worst things a horse owner can do for their horses?
Worst things. Not worst things we've done.
We both just go,
Worst things. Anything I feel like we've done wrong has been kind of in hindsight. You're like, well, shoot.
should have done this.
Should have done this
that.
different. It wasn't ever put the horse in a bad situation. Here's the thing. Horses are prone to
Accident prone.
accidents. Like
Yep.
they're accident prone. And not necessarily, I don't want to offend anybody by saying your horse is accident prone, but they really are, especially colts. I mean, they're curious. They're always into stuff. They're always trying to be busy. The worst thing, there's a lot of worse things. Things that you need to do. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if I know a lot of people have their horse in a stall or a small area for a while, and then if they turn them out to other horses and they haven't been around them for a while, just small injuries, kicking, biting, run them into fences. Just if you have a really good horse, worst case, just think of worst case scenario is going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't want to think like that all the time, but you're better off to think that way instead of dealing with it at the vet.
Think of as a horse, especially if it's like a used horse. It's different if you got 50 horses and they're all just dude horses and they're just turned out together anyways. But if you got a horse that, I'll use the vague term, is a good one, treat it like
A high value horse, huh?
a very expensive luxury car. You're not going to leave that car parked outside in the elements. You're not saying that horses have to be kept inside. Like all our stalls are outdoor stalls. But you're going to keep that thing out of the sun so that paint doesn't fade. You're going to try and keep that car parked in a clean area so it doesn't get dust. It doesn't get scratched. It doesn't get dinged. You're not going to park that car next to other cars. too closely to other cars. You're going to leave some gaps so that car doesn't get dinged, doesn't get scratched. Same with a horse. Now, moving from that example into the actual horse, things that people neglect that I feel are good feed. It's a lot cheaper to feed good feed consistently than it is to feed cheap feed, get that horse starved, and then have to supplement him and get on good feed eventually and make up that weight and make up that body condition that you want. It's cheaper in the long run to spend the money on good feed and keep that horse on good feed. Another thing that's neglected is water. They have to have water at all times, and they have to have fresh, clean water. I don't know how many places, and if we go out of town and we come back after a few days and whoever's feeding for us hasn't, we don't necessarily tell them, hey, dump the waters in the bins, rinse them, wash them, but occasionally it might be on the day we leave, one of the horses is a dink and backs up to the water and craps in the water.
Yep.
And it's got stagnant over 2 or 3 days that we were gone, and we get back and it's gross. So always pay attention, and that's happened. But always pay attention that they got clean water and good quality feed.
Yeah, every horse owner's probably pretty conscious of their own horses. They know their own personality, and just being conscious. Okay, this horse can't be tied by other ones.
Exactly. Know your horse.
Yep, know your horse.
Like I've got a really good head horse that we take everywhere, and I know I can't tie him in a crowd. It sucks, but he's kicked horses at the house that I just know I can't tie that horse in a crowd. If it means walking a quarter mile out of the arena to tie him at my trailer because that's the safest place to have him, it means I got to do that. How frustrating is it when you go to like the finale and they've got all those horses tied in there and some guy comes and ties some dink in there that's sitting there pinning his ears and going to kick?
This is going to be that'll be for another segment about
you just want to muck the guy out. It's like, hey,
yeah,
you can. I can tell just by you tying that horse there what this horse's temperament and mentality is like. There's no way you don't know that. Anyways,
negligence of horse owners.
And
we're not perfect. We've had
some
our
guys just don't give a damn, and it's like, you got to.
Yeah, you have to.
Anyways, so
what if you come up to a horse and you notice he's been munching on the mane to the horse next to him?
Hopefully,
what
I don't.
What are your steps?
That should be the answer enough right there.
Go put the pistol back in the truck. If he's chewing on another horse's mane, that's the question. What do you do?
Move them, right? Like, I mean, they don't know what it's like. A kid, they don't. If they're young enough, they don't know what they're getting.
Yeah,
disciplined for. Just you have to move them because some horses don't mess with manes and some do.
Well, that's kind of it. If you see horses turned out in a pasture, they'll sit there head to butt. Swishing their tail. So each horse, every time he swishes his tail, he hits the other horse in the face. Yep. You think that's dumb, but that's how they're keeping flies off their face.
Yep.
I wish I spoke horse because you just see them out and I want to hear that conversation.
I got a really bad itch.
Can I put my face by your butt and you smack my face with your tail and I'll do the same to you? They've reached that agreement somehow. But then at the same time, they'll stand parallel to each other facing the same way, and they'll reach over and be scratching each other's necks and kind of almost chewing on their manes or rubbing their teeth down their manes to scratch them. So it's kind of a natural habitual thing maybe for them to do. So that's something that you can't really tune on them for, I guess is what I'm getting at. It's not something that you can tune on a horse for, but move them as fast as you can.
That's $1 million question.
Oh, like how do you prevent that? I don't know what you do. The way that you prevent another horse from chewing on your horse's mane, distance. They can't be by each other.
Yep.
I remember we had a horse and I caught him chewing on another horse's braids. Didn't get him bad, but chewed enough that it frustrated you. I sent that horse with a guy to some jackpots, and he calls me and he goes, dude, and I told him, I said, this horse chews. Do not tie him next to anything you don't want chewed off. Sure enough, calls me. This horse chewed this tail off. The horse that I sent had chewed another horse's tail off. And anyways,
Better a horse to chew off another tail or mane than a goat.
Oh, shoot the goat, eat the goat. There's so many people. It's so funny. There's so many people when we do shows. There's so many people that'll come up to the booths and say, "My wife's goat," or "My wife's donkey." Well, it was goat. "My wife's goat chewed my horse's tail off." I'm like, you know how you fix that, right? How? You get rid of the goat.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something about the wife.
He says, no, this is funny because this guy in particular goes, I said, "You get rid of the goat." He goes, "Can't get rid of the goat. I can't get rid of the goat without getting rid of my wife." And then he paused and thought for a minute. It was funny. But yeah, the only way to prevent manes and tails being chewed off is don't put them by anything that'll chew. That's what started BioMane. We had that little blue roan mare that I got from Blaine in Idaho. She got her tail chewed off, and that's what started BioMane. So, yeah. Anyways,
it happens. Chrome got her mane.
Chrome got same horse that I sent to some jackpots with a guy chewed, and that's how I knew. That's funny. That's how I knew he chewed manes. Is he chewed all of Chrome's mane, all of her braids, cut them in half, shoot them in half.
Oh.
And like you want to tune on him, but it's like I got there after the fact, and if you get whipping on them or beating on them, it accomplishes nothing.
Yep. They don't know.
Anyways.
What about like scratching the manes off and rubbing them off?
Like if they're rubbing and scratching? Yeah. First thing I do.
Time of year.
Yeah, that summer months are worse because they get dry. That gets hot. If they're not under shade, they can get kind of sunburnt, and that gets itchy. Flies are a big contributor to that. But make sure your pens, it depends on how they're rubbing. For one, don't have panels. If you do some adjusting. But if your panels have slats big enough, gaps big enough that they can stick their head through and rub, they're going to do it.
Yep.
Even if they're not trying to rub, they're going to stick their head through to get to something on the other side of the fence. So have them to where they can't put their head through. If they're still rubbing, things to do, put a fly sheet on, a fly sheet with a hood that covers their mane. On the sheet, make sure it has a little tail flap that covers the tail head in case they rub. If that, and this is all from experience, if that doesn't work, what I ended up doing on one that I had that was a habitual rubber, he would rub regardless of what was in his pen, what he had. I mean, I'd fly spray him 8, 9, 10 times a day just to make sure it wasn't bugs biting him. And I ended up stringing hot wire around the inside perimeter of his pen. And some people say hot wire's not humane. I don't care. It was, to me it was, and it prevented him from rubbing, because when he was rubbing so hard he'd get sores and he was uncomfortable. It's like I'd rather him get shocked once or twice than have open sores.
Yeah, just good problem solving. If you don't want your horse to rub, if you don't want to buy other horses, I think it's just you have to just solve the problem.
Yeah, and that's
spend more money on the pens or the hot wire, but
that's right where I go to now. Instead of wasting them, I shouldn't say waste, but instead of trying to spending the money trying to fix it with a fly sheet, with fly sprays, with misters, first thing I do is string hot wire. If I've got one that's rubbing, I put hot wire in there. They get popped once or twice, and it's not, it stings, but it's not buffalo quality. Yeah. It's going to pop them. It's going to sting them, but it's like a spank on the butt, and they're fine, and they learn from it, and they don't rub anymore. So that's how I handle rubbing. We've been lucky over the last couple of years. We haven't had much for rubbing going on.
Good.
What else, Bryce? Fire at will.
Yeah, we're getting a bunch of questions in here. A lot of maintenance questions, I guess.
Okay.
But there's another question here from Kyla Hughes, if she's still in here. Does BioMane benefit a yearling horse?
Definitely. As long as they're old enough it's good for one, it's safe for pregnant and nursing mares. And when your colt or filly is old enough and mature enough to be eating forage, like they can graze around, they can eat hay, they can eat grain, they're old enough for BioMane. And yes, 100% it benefits them. Like Chrome, the horse we have, is pregnant. She's doing about a month. she's on BioMane. She's going to be on BioMane for the rest of her life. But as soon as her colt is old enough, he or she is on BioMane.
It's good for her to get him because then it's. I hate when I go out younger horse, you can't catch them.
Yep.
You go out there with BioMane, they'll come to you. They get a little more supple, a little better to be around.
Yeah, use it as a little training aid too.
Yep, exactly.
Hand feed them, get them good around you.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I would use it. Honestly, I would use it as a training aid. Get them eating out of your hand. Get them to where they're comfortable around you. You know, when you're feeding them, put your hands all over them.
Messing with the mane, touching, just handling horses every single day. Gosh, there's nothing worse than a horse that runs off and doesn't want to be combed.
We've all had those.
Yeah, not for very long.
Yeah. But no, it's safe for them, and they definitely benefit from it.
Cool. I won't scare Lad this time, but let's do another giveaway.
I was like, it's kind of getting ready. I'm starting to look around.
Giveaway time. Who is it?
Let's do Joshua. I'm gonna Bazan.
I'm not even gonna try.
Nope.
No accent.
Josh, you know who you are.
Joshua.
Grooming
gloves. Nice. I love our grooming gloves. I think a lot of people think, like, when I use them, they look at me, they're like, what's this guy doing?
They feel cool. I like putting them on and
yeah, they're great. When we were down in Arizona, it was warm enough that we could shower up, bathe some horses, and the grooming gloves are the greatest thing ever. You're getting, like, our horses, it's been a month at least since it was warm enough that I felt like, at least during the day, because the hot part of the day I wasn't able to be there to shower them up or bathe them up. But in Arizona, shoot, it got almost to 70. And what I do, I wet the horses down. I would use a shampoo on their mane and their tail, just using my hands. And then I get that grooming glove on, and I water the horse down, get them wet. And then I just put the shampoo directly on those gloves, kind of rub them together, lather them up, and just go to town rubbing all over that horse with those gloves. And what those gloves do is it helps lift that hair and allow you to get beneath the coat all the way to the skin with that shampoo, which that shampoo is what it's doing is attaching to that debris and lifting it to the surface. And when you rinse it out, you're rinsing it completely out. Because just spraying your horse off, that horse's hair lays flat in layers on top of each other. So unless you're using really, really high pressure, you're not getting down to the skin. So that's the benefit of the grooming gloves, is really able to get down to the skin surface and get all the dust and debris out. So hopefully you like your free gift. Leave your shipping address in our messages. Don't do it in the comments. You'll have a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, just shoot us a DM on Instagram, Facebook.
And I use the grooming gloves to brush the horses. Like, as long as they don't have, like, mud and crud on them, if it's just dust, those gloves attract the dust.
Yeah, then you don't get all dirty. If you have a rodeo or some kind of show, and depending on how dirty your horse is.
Yeah, and they're soft enough for their face. I do it up around their eyes. I do it around their feet, their ankles when I'm putting splints on. They're great.
Yep.
I got a lot of goofy looks at first, and then people are like, man,
use that for myself.
That actually is really good.
It's like, it's a loofah. It's a could be a human loofah.
It's a hoofa. Oh, Bryce, what else you got for
Could
us?
have to be renamed the hoofa.
No kidding.
Man, that's basically it. We had a comment a little bit back from Macy Sack. Again, she's full of questions today. What's better for trailers, a stock combo or a horse trailer?
Totally personal preference, I think.
I guess what does she do? What does she
like
do?
A stock combo. I'm assuming she means like a stock, meaning not slanted. The way I interpret that, Macy, is a horse trailer, you're saying, has slants and dividers. I shouldn't say slants, but dividers for each individual horse. You put a horse in maybe on a slant, close that divider. Put another horse in, close that divider. So they're all separate. And a stock combo, I'm assuming you're meaning it's just like a big stock area.
Yeah.
Totally
She did mention she had 2 horses, so maybe
dividers. But some of these stock combos, like Logan Coach has some pretty cool stock combos.
Yeah.
Just depend. I guess it all comes down to money. What do you want to?
Well, that and it all comes down to kind of what horses you're hauling. Like if they get along good and they can ride together, I don't see an issue with the stock combo. If they're not, like for instance, that horse that I've got that occasionally will kick, I can't put him in a stock combo. Like when I haul my stock trailer, I've got a stud door in my stock trailer, and that dink, I mean, he's great to rope on, but he's a dink around other horses. So he goes in the stud door, and then everything else we're taking. It's that long trailer. Like there's times we'll take 10, 11 horses. I'll put him in the stud door. Then every other horse can go in the stock trailer parked right next to each other, tied right next to each other, and not have any issues. So as long as the horses get along good, I think you're okay in a stock combo. And the benefit of having a stock combo type trailer is it's a lot more diverse. You're able to haul livestock, you're able to haul equipment if you need it without having to remove dividers. I personally, I don't know, I go back and forth. I like both. If I'm doing nothing with cattle and I'm just going to a jackpot or a rodeo, I always take my one that has dividers in it, just because I feel like they ride better. If for some reason I have to get on the brakes hard, they're in their individual compartments with those dividers. They can only go this far either direction. If I have to slam on the brakes, like some idiot cuts us off, they can't go very far. They got something to lean and brace against. Where in a stock combo, if you got 8 horses and they're all side by side or nose to tail, and you hit the brakes hard, they're all going to the front. You know, on the first one in the front's the front end. So I personally, for hauling horses and horses alone, I like dividers.
Especially if you're hauling other people's horses.
Yeah.
If you're hauling someone else's horse, and
yeah, and that's us. Like we always have somebody jumping in to go with, or we're picking somebody up to go with. So the dividers are for me the way to go. If we're hauling cows, like our stock trailer's kind of long, you can put steers up in the front and horses on the back, or vice versa. So it's nice. You can do a lot more with it as far as options, but if you're hauling horses and horses alone, I prefer dividers just for that reason. I feel like they ride safer and they ride better.
More peace of mind.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps. That was a good question.
Yeah, she was also the one wondering about the clinics and stuff, so maybe she's getting ready to
go to a clinic.
Yeah, get up and go.
Cool.
Let's give her a giveaway.
Let's do it.
She's been pretty active.
Yeah, she has been.
Let's give her something. You want to pick something or you want to spin?
Let's do a spin.
Let's do a spin. Ready? Oh! What are we going to do here, boys?
Gotta go again. That's a halfie.
30-day supply.
There you go.
Macy, right?
Yep.
Macy, hopefully you're already feeding it. If you're not, you get a start. Give us your mailing address in the DMs, and we'll get that sent out this week. Nice.
Cool.
I'm going to pull some up on my phone. Let's talk about other horse fails. What are our horse fails? Where have we failed?
Yeah, lad, you had a little look when I said horse fails. Have you? I feel like you've been bucked off or something.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. I'm trying to like pinpoint one that's gonna.
Let's talk about the roan horse.
All right, we'll talk about the roan horse. I was trying to think of another one that's gonna be like, I guess, for everybody. There's that one time I had that horse. I was swinging a rope around a younger horse. He was that race horse. I was trying to turn into head horse. Anyways, I had this horse that was getting him used to ropes, and I was swinging the rope not even close by him, just enough, and this horse reared up. So once he hits the end of it, he comes up, and it was right by some stalls, and he gets his head cut on the end point of on the roof. Do you remember that?
I remember that story.
And it gashed his head open. So like, I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to, like, this horse is gonna look terrible.
You sent me a picture.
Yeah, and it's just one of these deals like we were talking about. I wasn't I thought he was gonna be okay, but he wasn't. I had a horse tied up in a spot where worst case scenario happened, and it
Stuff
did.
could have gone wrong.
Yep, and it went wrong. So
I think that's a good point. You got to look at situations with horses as worst case scenario. If this goes south, what's the worst that could happen? And plan for that. If it doesn't, count it as a blessing.
yep, you had a good day.
But if it's going to go that way, they're a fight or flight animal. And if they're coming to fight you, run like hell.
Yep,
If they're trying to flight, if they're trying to run away, you got to make sure they're not in a position or a place where they could get in a bind like that.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
yeah. Luckily, no one was around. It was just him, and he
Yeah.
did it to himself. Never had any problems after that. But
Some might argue you did it to him.
yeah, I guess it's true. But no, he gashed himself good, and I had to have vet come out, and we did. Luckily, we didn't have to do any stitches. We sprayed some of the silver spray on him that we'll talk about, and
Yeah.
it worked. But another thing with kids too, man, I've got my little boy. If he's around a horse at all, like it's all hands on deck on him. You got to be very careful. So
Well, you've saved my kid from a runaway horse too.
yep, yeah, horses we love them, but man, they can. They've hurt a lot of people.
I think that's what ruins horses for a lot of people. Like, how many people do you know that as a kid got on a dink and it ran off or bucked them off and they're done? They want nothing to do with horses again. And it's just like, that's, as a parent, that, like, I respect the people whose kids have like 3 and 4 year olds that are full on, they're at a jackpot, or you go to their place and their kid is turned loose on a horse. I'm not like that. Not because I don't trust the kid or trust the horse that I'm on. I just think differently. I think worst case scenario.
Yep.
If something were to go wrong right now, what's the worst that could happen?
Right.
And that's what I plan for. And like, I'm more timid than my kids are even on horses. I'm more timid about my kids on horses than they themselves are on the horse.
Yep.
For that reason, is like, if this goes south, this is really
And
bad.
it's usually not going to be the parent worried about the kid or the kid on the horse. It's what's somebody else's horse doing that's going to happen and go wrong.
Like Cash wants to hop on and ride around every time we do a jackpot at the house. I don't let him because I don't know what guys are bringing. Like they're the types of jackpots where guys bring their good horses, but they also bring colts to ride while they're warming up.
Yeah.
And crap can go south, and it's just, don't put your kids or yourself or your horse in those types of situations.
Yeah, because it happens way too fast.
Yeah. So the roan horse. Let's talk about that roan horse. This is really, it was Lad's horse. It was born a fail on my end, I guess.
We
Called him Spatula.
Call him Spatula.
Called him Spatula, and he was. I'll let you describe what he is. I know what words I would use.
Yeah. he was I don't want to say a torture horse, but we broke a lot of steers in on him. Like he was tough. Like he came from somewhere up in Oregon.
He was ignorant. Tough.
Yeah, he was ignorant, dirty, tough, and
but
he I don't know the background on the horse, but he wasn't very fun to be around on the ground. Like just being around him, he just did some
just
stuff.
from day one. He always felt like you were after him.
Yep,
you were out to get him.
But when I was on his back, I was like, oh, he's not too bad. He's definitely a cowboy horse.
But on the ground, he was always
he's a spook.
Really spooky. So on the back end of my place, I've got, behind my steer pens, there's a pasture. Well, there's an alley there, a big alley, that has pipe and wood fence on the one end, and the other side the pasture side had a barbed wire and T-post fence. That was Spatula's pen because he had a ton of room. He could move around. He could do whatever. If this sucker heard a four-wheeler start on the opposite end of my place, his ears are perked. He's looking, thinking something's after him. Well, I hop on the tractor one day and I go work in the arena. And as I get down towards the bottom by the steers, I see him running back and forth, like losing his mind, thinking it's out to get him. And like there's literally...
I was up north.
You were up north.
I was up north.
There's literally steer pens and then the alley. Like there's no way this tractor can get him even if he thought it was going to. So I thought, he's fine. He'll figure it out. He'll pace back and forth. That's fine. Let him figure it out. Do a few more circles. I come up the wall and I see him again, and he's running parallel to that barbed wire fence, jumps it to jump into that pasture. Well, right where he tried jumping the fence was a T-post. and he hooked that T-post right underneath not his withers, right underneath his shoulder right there in his girth area where the cinch goes, and got hung up. Like, didn't get into the pasture, luckily, because it would have just gutted up his belly. But came back over into his pen and was tore up pretty good right there. That T-post just opened him up through muscle, through skin. So I call Lad, ask him what we want to do.
When Cole sent me the picture, I remember I just look at the picture, and I kind of just called me and went, oh, I'm gonna have to put that horse down. Like, it was that bad. I'm like, I'm gonna have to put the horse down.
Yeah.
He wasn't, to me at that time, he wasn't gonna be worth the vet bills for me.
No,
So I just I'll just have to put him down.
Yeah. Or give him to somebody that wants to pay for it.
Yep.
Because he was not going to be worth it. But the point in telling this story is I knew the horse. I knew his setup of where he was at.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bad combination. On any given day, any given time, it's good. It's a good big pen. I'm not opposed to barbed wire and T-posts by a horse like that.
Yep.
Like, he wasn't, hate us for saying it, but he wasn't a valuable horse. He wasn't worth much, and he did fine in that pen. But when you add the tractor to the scenario, something that spooks him, freaks him out, that's when it was bad, and that's where the fail was on my part. Was hindsight, I needed to go catch the horse. I needed to tie him up in a safe spot, work the arena, then go put him back in his pen. That's what should have happened.
Yep.
Luckily, he healed up just fine. There's this cool medicine that you can get. It's over the counter. You can get it at any feed or tack store, really. I think it's called Alu Shield.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a silver spray, antibiotic spray. Healed that horse up great.
In a month, it looked in a month, like where I was like, oh, this horse is gonna get put down. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
And it was fine.
You saw bone. Like, it went through muscles. Like, you saw ribs. And that's the cool thing about that spray was, like, he needed stitched. He needed stitched. Well, and it was right there in that cinch area. 30 days later, you're able to cinch that horse up and not have him be sore. He had a scar, but it wasn't a big risen up.
It's because roans, if they get any kind of blemish or anything on them, they get dark. They get dark in that spot. Just look like a normal roan spot.
Yeah.
But that horse had a near-death experience. I'm not gonna say he was perfect after, but I know he's a lot better.
Yeah.
He's a little bit better, and some horses
a little bit more cautious. Almost like, okay, I just realized that losing my mind did nothing but get me hurt.
He was fun to play Coke Brew on, like when we just mess around. Yeah, he was good. He was good for that.
Freaking box you out and try and hurt you.
Yep. That was one of the.
That's probably my biggest horse. Well, I hate to look into my life, but that's one of my biggest horse fails. At least knowing that this could be bad and still going along with it. That's probably the worst. I've hurt some horses riding them and competing on them that I didn't anticipate happening.
Yeah, but when you called, I was just like, because you were very apologetic. I was like, dude, I was like that.
Oh, I felt so bad.
I was like, that horse. I'm not saying he deserved it, but what else do you do?
That's the type of situation where it's like, I know I should have caught this idiot.
Yeah, but figure out to be around a tractor.
Yeah.
If you're gonna haul horses and go to jackpots, I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Move your horse from the tractor because it just broke the reins and everybody else's.
Yeah. Or at South Point, you know that big bar across the back wall that everybody ties to?
And that one lady was yelling at everybody.
Yeah. Well, the thing's not solid on the wall. It's hung up. So if one horse pulls on that thing, the whole thing gets rocking, and there's 50 horses tied up losing their minds. Oh, terrible.
We could talk about horse fails all day.
I know.
There's some good wreck stories.
Oh, we've got some good stories.
Did you have one?
Me?
No, I didn't know if someone commented on it.
Behind the camera. I have too many. Have you ever been, what's your craziest, have you been in like an accident on a horse?
With horses?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Trying to think my worst one. You'd have been there probably.
Oh, we've had a few of them. Trying to think of some that are like that could have been preventive, like if someone is around this kind of situation.
Oh, I got one recently. My elk hunt. Hopefully Gene's listening to this. So I went on an elk hunt up in Wyoming in September of last year. And, I mean, for the first few days, we saw more grizzly bears than we saw elk. And we're on these just dude horses, just horses that do trail rides their whole lives. And we ditched the horses. We were with a group of a few more guys, sent the horses with them just to lead. And we went hiking it up a mountain. Got a chance at an elk.
And this is up near Jackson.
This is up between Jackson and DuBois.
Yep.
And
and just so everyone knows, if there's a problem, grizzly bears, they usually get sent up to that area, kind of by DuBois.
yeah,
so
there's
it
like
is
in Yellowstone, if there's...
It's grizzly infested. I used to live up about an hour from DuBois, and we just heard some horror stories about some of the grizzlies that they turn loose over there.
If there's problem bears in the park, they catch them and turn them out up here.
Yep.
So many bears. And they don't regulate. That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we go hiking up mountain, have a chance at an elk, don't get him. We radio to our, well, they've got GPS texting, so they text. The guy I'm with is the actual guide that owns the hunting camp. He texts his other guide that took our horses and says, hey, we're going to be behind you a few miles. Tie the horses at this point. He texts him back and says, okay, your horses are tied. After a while, he texts back and says, okay, your horses are tied. We're probably a mile away from where the horses are. And he texts us and says, hey, up the trail a few hundred yards from where we tied your horses, there's 2 grizzlies fighting over a carcass. And we're like, great. So we kind of hoof it, get down to the horses, and our horses are tied to these trees, and they're just losing their mind because they hear what's going on. They can smell what's going on. So they're already kind of losing their minds. We get on, and keep in mind, like, I've got my backpack. It's bow season. I got my backpack, my bow strapped to my backpack, and we're tired. Like, we just hoofed it half the day, up and down this mountain. So I'm kind of tired, wore out, get on this horse, and he's kind of being a dink. Which, granted,
dude horse,
but he's hearing and smelling bear, you know. And so I kind of get after him. I mean, he's throwing his head up, trying to just be a dig. So I kind of get after him like, hey, shape up. And he just right in 2. Cracks in half, swallows his head. Head goes to the ground, gets me up over his head. And as I'm over his head, throws his head to the side and just right in my face. I fall. I go about 3 more jumps hanging onto the side, my bow and everything, land on my back, on my bow, roll over on my stomach, and I'm like, shoot, I got a mouthful of gravel. And I spit in my hand, and it's all my teeth. I shouldn't say all my teeth, but it's all pieces of my teeth. I cracked 4 teeth. And I'm like day 4 into the hunt. I was supposed to be there a few more days. I'm like, I'm going to be done. Like, full on concussed, laying there. And I hear Gene running off through the willows. Whoa, trying to catch this horse.
Run off horse.
Comes back. You okay, bud? I'll be fine. Okay. Climb on. We get riding. He looks back and goes, you know you got bucked off a dude horse, right? What a jerk.
The good part about our friends in the industry, you're gonna as soon as you find out you're okay, you're gonna get made fun of a little.
Yeah. Then we get up the trail a few hundred yards, and sure enough, you hear. Oh, we didn't see him, but we heard him. There was 2 bears, full on war, fighting,
doing the barking.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yep.
Anyway, so then we get back to camp. But that's probably. I mean, I've had more wrecks, but that's the most recent one. I'm weird in the sense that, like, when something bad happens like that, I tune it out. Like, I forget about that stuff pretty quick. If it happens to somebody else, I remember it pretty good. But if I had, like, a trauma like that, I'm pretty good to put it out of my mind.
That's good.
This one, not so much, because it's kind of funny now that Gene made fun of me, and he's a jerk, and that's why we're friends.
Yeah, there's a few people you don't want to get bucked off in front of. And Gino is one of them. Yeah. But we're always hoping he gets bucked off.
Oh, yeah. Like,
problem is you can't hurt.
He's a bullfighter.
Yeah, you can't hurt him.
He's kind of got the ignorant tough. But that's the most recent wreck I've had. And it was scary sitting there. Because the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm laying there half dazed and feeling my teeth in my mouth is like, if I have to walk out of here, there's 2 bears up there fighting over a carcass a few hundred yards, and I am not going to be able to outrun that big old beast.
Yep.
So that was kind of a little more of a panic mode. But my dad got in a wreck really bad when I was a kid, and I think that kind of set him back from having, I shouldn't say set him back, but kind of took the wind out of his sails for wanting to be hardcore into it. You know what I mean? Like, because he used to rope, he used to do a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of horses, but I think that kind of set him back because he would have had 3 or 4 kids at that time, and that about killed him. And he's like, man, I'm good.
Yep.
So it's interesting how it affects you long term.
It's true.
But like that thing, yeah, in hindsight, I should have just put up with that horse being a dink, but I felt more nervous about him being a dink in that area with those bears than thinking, what do you do if I got after him?
Yeah.
And so I got after him, and he got after me real quick.
Well, at least you did it there instead of like while the bears are like right around.
Yeah.
Like, hopefully the horse chases the bears off or something. But
What wrecks have you been in?
I've had a few hunting ones.
Have you?
I mean, I was letting a horse get down to get some water, and it got bogged down in the mud. And my friend had walkers. He brought his horses because I really did not want to, the horses I had at that time, I didn't want to bring them up there because we were up in Big Piney area. I did not want to take I only had good ones at the time. Yeah. So I was like, I will just take yours. I've never rode them. Let's see what it's like. And it was weird. Right?
Walkers, like Tennessee walkers.
Yeah, like, he's like, they have this different, you've seen them, they have this gait.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sitting here, same deal with this heavy backpack. So I'm helping them get some, they both got some milk, so I was helping them get them out. And when they get doing their trotting, I felt weird just because they're doing this like perfect little trot. And I'm like, man, I'm glad no one's watching this. Because like quarter horses, you kind of have to ride with them and bounce.
Oh, yeah.
On this deal, you just sit up and just,
Ding, ding,
and
ding,
they just
ding,
ding, ding, ding. It didn't, it was smooth, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Anyways, this horse wasn't very sure-footed, and she got stuck in that water. I tried to get her out because she got bogged down, and we both ate it right in the water. Luckily, there wasn't a rock or anything around. She just, like, we both just went down, and I came up just soaking wet. I'm so mad, and I mean, there's some stuff like that, but that's like the worst one I had. Luckily, there was nothing around, but when she went down and slam dunked me in the water, it was just like, oh, I'm so glad that was water.
Yeah. Because
that horse just lost her foot and just did, when they back up, they just do that whole freak out. That's what happened. And it just like that. I'm glad it was, I luckily got out of it, but because the other kid I was with, if that happened to him, like I think he had size, he's got big feet. Luckily I was able to pop my feet out pretty quick, but if you get hung up in that spot and get dragged around, gosh, you're in trouble.
I had a kid, I just remember this, my best friend growing up was Justin Ferris, and he lived, this is up in Idaho Falls area, he lived out towards Osgood, and he lived in a cool neighborhood that was like kind of out towards Osgood, like the lava area, that had like some canyons and little hills and stuff. Well, he lived in that type of area, and we'd always get on horses. They had horses for hunting and stuff. His dad was a big time hunter, so was he. And we'd go get on horses and just go around the neighborhood and go through his property and stuff. We're going down this steep hill. I mean, it's not a massive hill, but going down the steep hill, and it was kind of by a main road in there.
Enough we have to do the Jim Craig.
Oh, yeah.
Put the hand up.
Man from Snowy River, and then just, 13 years old. Just We're going down. I'm behind him. His horse stumbles, eats it, and tips on its side. So you're going downhill this way. Eats it and rolls with her feet aiming uphill. He couldn't get out. So he's pinned now with his head aiming downhill. Does that make sense?
Yep.
His head aiming downhill, his right leg stuck underneath the saddle, and that horse's legs aiming uphill.
Just are they still sliding?
They slid for a little bit, but then they were stuck. Well, this horse kind of gets to thrashing, and what I'm seeing happen is if this horse tips and goes over the hill, she rolls right over, and like saddle, horn, everything rolls right over. So I bail off, go and kind of sit on her head like, hey, don't thrash, don't nothing. And it's almost like if I leave to go get help, this horse is going to thrash. going to try and get upright. Anyways, and it was the type of deal where you could uncinch, you could take the saddle, you couldn't take the saddle off, but you could uncinch it. But still, if she rolls over, that saddle's still going to roll on him.
Yep.
Dude, I don't even know how this guy knew where we were, because we were kind of by a road, but no one was driving.
Mm-hmm.
Out of nowhere, this guy comes, and if it's not the toughest SOB I've ever seen in my life, luckily, it is. But this dude's a beast. And, like, of all people to have help you right there, you needed a beast.
Mm-hmm.
This guy got underneath the ass end of this horse and full on just Justin slid out.
Mm-hmm.
We hurried and undid the cinches and stuff. She rolled over, got up, we saddled her up and rode her home. That's the scariest I think I've ever... Scaredest?
Oh, there you go. I thought you were saying it's the scariest.
Scaredest. Yeah, I had to take the headphones off and hear myself right. That's the scaredest I've ever been in my life, like horse wreck-wise. Just because it's like, dude, this guy's going to get rolled over on. How many guys do we know that have been rolled over on or reared over on?
Yeah.
Anyways, so that's the scariest moment I think I've had. And you're just a freaking stupid 13-year-old kid. So, anyways, that was a long-winded version of that, Bryce. Sorry.
I've seen some good ones. I'm sure we could go on all day about.
Oh, man.
My dad had him getting rolled over on him once. He had to go. It was weird because, like, when the horse gets off him, he was like out.
Yeah.
It's sad because that saddle horn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
Crushing them when they roll over, and
Yeah.
you're just, if you can walk away unscathed, it's pretty lucky.
If you walk away alive.
Yeah.
I'm putting myself to sleep with our stories.
Oh, they're not that boring. Come on, we're talking about near-death experiences.
Yeah. Bryce, what else we got? It's giveaway time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I got long-winded
We're
there.
pretty
It's
close.
got to be giveaway time.
We have a lot of maintenance.
A lot of maintenance questions? Mm-hmm. Let's do a giveaway. We'll answer some maintenance questions.
Cool.
Who is it?
Let's do Janet Ross.
Janet Ross. Janet. You're getting a detangler, bottle of detangler. It's actually a 2-pack that we'll send you. 2-pack of detangler. If you use detanglers, I'm going to go out on a whim and say you're going to love our detangler. It's a thicker consistency than a spray. You're going to put it in your hand and essentially rub it in with your hands into the mane. Use that paired with our BioMane brush, and your manes are going to be phenomenally... I can't talk with these headphones on. I'm hearing myself all weird.
Some people, I don't know. Some will have one on and one off to do that.
I don't know. You'll be impressed.
I'm gonna try
I
that.
guess is a short of it. You'll be impressed with how well this detangler works on their manes and tails, even without having to wash them, let them dry. Shoot, undo your braids, put the detangler in, follow our steps for brushing using the BioMane brush, and I think you'll love it. Put your go ahead and send us a message with your shipping information. Again, it's a 2-pack of our BioMane detangler.
She had the question, what type of cinch do you prefer? Like brand, material?
Man, I like the mohair cinches. Yeah. I personally do. Like I said earlier.
They last a lot longer too.
They last longer. I think they're more comfortable for what we do, for roping and riding and just ranch type stuff. You do get a little more stretch in them over time. Like if you need a 30, after a month you might have a 32, 31 or 32 because they do stretch. But I like those better than the neoprene ones. I feel like the neoprene ones, I've had more issues with the neoprene ones than I have the mohair ones. I just feel like when that horse is sweaty and that's around their girth, if that saddle rocks or something, it's really tugging on that skin and that hair.
They fall apart quick.
Yeah, and they wear out. You know what I mean? The reason being is you get dust and sweat, and that sweat's salty, and that deteriorates those materials. Anyways, I've just had better luck with mohair cinches.
I'd wear a shoulder brace, and it was neoprene. And, man, when you would take it off, it hurts. Like, it's so hot. It holds that heat in. I didn't like that about it. I just felt like I was always so hot with that neoprene.
Yeah. It's kind of like splint boots. Splints and bells, if you're using the Velcro neoprene ones. It just holds in that heat.
Yep.
So you got to take them off and loosen them up. But I prefer mohair cinches.
Cool. Let's get into the braids.
Okay.
Topic. How long should you leave them in? How long? I don't know. Just I guess basic recommendations for
braids.
I can talk about the don'ts, because you
Let's
know
hear
the
it.
do's good. Don't leave them in sometimes as long as I have, because if the longer you leave them in, and when you take them out, I had a horse called Olay. I think we posted him on a while ago, and he had pretty long mane and tail, and there'd be days where it's like, I've got to get that. I've got to take them out and redo them. If you procrastinate that, it doesn't matter. You're going to end up coming back to it, and you're going to spend. I was out there over 2 hours just to get it untangled again. So if you're thinking to get it taken out and redo it, do it. Don't wait.
And even when you do get it out, like it's a pain, but you've got so much more breakage and damage.
Yep. And exactly. And by the time I was done, I looked in the garbage. It's like, are you kidding me? Like I had that much hair pulling out.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So we do them once a week, once every 7 days, maybe 8, but our recommendation is 7 to 10 days. Don't leave them in longer than that.
Is that the same for winter and summer, spring, everything?
Yep. That's just, if you got a horse that is really good on his braids and doesn't get them messed up at all, you can leave them in longer, I guess, but that's just what we do. Every horse on the place gets done every 7 to 8 days. The recommendation that we've always done is 7 to 10 days. When you're doing when you're getting a section of mane for that braid, I like to stay around 2 to 3 inches max. Like if you're starting up at the pole and working down to the withers, when you start, the section of hair that you're braiding is about 2 inches wide, 2 to 3 inches max. The reason being, if you get a big section of hair, on this, let me grab this. Stand by. Hand me that Hollywood horse. Gracias.
Talk about horse failures. We're not going to break a leg today.
So, can you see this all right, Bryce?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you get a big section of mane, say you only have 3 braids in this horse's mane, which sometimes I do it like jackpots or something, but that horse isn't eating. He's not really drinking at the jackpots until we're done. So, this is why I do this for long term. If you do a bigger section of hair, especially down on this end, if you do a bigger section of hair into one braid, when that horse extends his neck down to eat or drink, that neck, like, for lack of a better word, extends and stretches, and all these hairs being pulled into one place, it's pulling on those at the roots and causing irritation, which that irritation can lead to rubbing. So what I like to do, and what we've always recommended, is do a section of 2 to 3 inches. Now, that's going to mean instead of having 3 or 4 braids, you might have 7, 8, or 9 braids in that hair. But that's going to, in the long term, be far better than the other, because it's just going to cause irritation and which may cause rubbing.
It's corner cutting.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's all it is.
Yeah, it saves time to do less braids, but in saving time, you're losing hair, to be honest. And your first few crosses in that braid, when you get I just do a 3-strand braid, typical braid, but my first 3 or 4 crosses in that braid, I do fairly loose, and then I tighten it up. And the reason I do those fairly loose is if you're pulling those tight and you're doing really tight braids right at the roots, it's the same issue as if you did too big of a braid. That hair is just constantly being pulled on. And imagine just sitting here tugging on your hair for a long period of time. It's going to tick you off. It's going to get irritated, and you're going to do whatever you can to get rid of that feeling. And that's what rubbing does for those horses. The tail, stay an inch or 2 below the tailbone. Separate the tail into 3 sections. First few crosses, do fairly loose, and then tighten it up all the way to the bottom. Finish your braids with our BioMane braiding tape. You'll be in good shape. Do that once a week.
How soon would you recommend starting your braid? like, let's say the mane or tail is only a few inches long?
Man, if your horse doesn't have a long enough mane to get it in knots or snarls, like if you got a pretty short maned horse or a short-tailed horse that's not getting in knots, not getting in snarls, getting into a mess, you can leave them alone, to be honest. People that have really short-maned horses and are doing them in small little braids are causing more damage than good because there's not much hair there anyways. So if your horse's mane is long enough that, you know, when it shakes its head or when it rolls, that mane curls up and gets into knots and snarls, that's a sure sign that you've got to have those in braids because you're going to be protecting them.
Yep, and then if they're trying to train it to stay to one side better too.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. That wraps up most of the questions we have.
Well, I think it's a good place to wrap up. Anything you want to add?
I was trying to think. I'd just say, as horse owners, everyone just be as conscious as they can of their pens, the surrounding of the horse, who's around them, especially those that don't understand horses very good, don't have a very high horse IQ if they're around. I just with my kid, I've just been a lot more cautious and aware of what's going on when he's around and other people, because everyone wants to be around a horse, but
well, like we've been around them our whole lives, and look how many bad situations we still get in.
Yep.
How many potential wrecks we almost have.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we're around them all the time. We're pretty savvy about it. My heart goes out to those people that are just getting into it and are super green and super uneducated about it and dealing with crap. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It costs more, but keep them fed good. If you can afford one, get one that's unless you're dead set on having a project horse, get one, spend a little more because they do cost more money, but get a good one that's, seasoned, easy to be around, user-friendly, and just always treat them like they're trying. I don't know. I don't want to make horses sound bad, but
no, it's not. Hopefully it's going to save someone money out there, because maybe the person that they're selling the horse to, the seller is going to be like, oh, this is fine and stuff, but no, hit it on the head.
Yeah, just always treat them like, give a horse the respect that they need, I guess is what I'm trying to say. They're a big animal. If you want to get in a fight with a horse, he's going to beat you every time.
Yep.
He's always going to beat you. He overpowers you. He overruns you. He'll out-eat you. He's going to break you physically and monetarily. Just be safe. I don't know what other advice to give. Just be safe. Don't put yourself or your kids or a horse in a situation to get hurt. You'll be a lot better off. Hopefully we don't scare people away from wanting to buy a horse.
No,
but that's the reality of it. Is just they're animals that they're not a pup. You know what I mean?
That horse. Well, to end on this, that horse boarding facility place I had up in Ogden, there was a girl that she was there for maybe 2 months, and she was really timid around the horse, and she had just bought it. Anyways, said it was doing really good. A week later, she brings the horse to me. She just gotten bucked off, and gave me the horse. Said, I can't do this anymore. It's too dangerous. This horse bucked me off twice now, and she's only into it for 2 weeks. I was just like, okay. And I think that happens a lot. A lot.
Well, and a lot of people can't get out of them after, say they want rid of that horse.
Yep.
They can't get rid of them.
Yep.
So
I gave them away for free.
Yeah. The way to do that, prevent that, is get a good one from the start, I guess. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Again, use hashtag BioMane Live Show to stay in tune with us. Follow us. We want to hear your reviews, whether you like it or not. We want to hear them. If you don't like us and you give us a bad review, we might even put you on the show.
We will call you.
We will call you and get you on the show. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks. Bye.